episode 4, Random Car Thoughts with Adam. Driving my Camaro today, so might be a little louder than usual. Not that my Camaro is anything special, but it's definitely special to me. So I've had this car I'm almost 37, so 17 years now. And we age the same. So I bought this car when I was 20, and I love it. I love third gen Camaros. So maybe I'll talk about that because I just love this car so much. So when I was 20, I saw this car in the paper. They wanted $3,000 for it, and I ended up paying them $2,600. I got a loan from my bank, and my dad's bank gave me a loan too, which gave me enough money to buy it and then do some maintenance on it, brakes, that kind of stuff. I put a stereo in it 2 times. I've changed the motor in it twice. Once was I was changing the thermostat on it, and I didn't have enough time to finish before I had to go to my second job, and my little brother came home, and he wanted to go get some money from our dad, and he shut the hood and took off. I was actually impressed at how far he was able to drive it with no antifreeze in it. He called me and said, "Hey, your car died." And I was like, "What do you mean it died?" He said, "It just died." And I said, "Did you put the thermostat together?" And he said, "What's a thermostat?" So my mom came and picked me up, and we drove out there, and I dumped about 3 gallons of water in it, got it home. But the damage had already been done. Blew a head gasket. I drove it until it just wouldn't go anymore. And it sat for a couple years because I couldn't afford to rebuild the motor. And then I was finally able to, so I went back with the V6, 107 horsepower. Put that in there, and then right after I first bought it, the muffler fell off from the cat, it was just the muffler fell off, so it still had the mid pipe, and it sounded fucking throaty, and everyone's like, "Damn, what do you got in there?" But it was just because it didn't have a muffler on it. It sounded so good. And then after I put the new motor in it, a little bit later, the mid pipe fell off, so it was just the cat. That thing was fucking loud. It shook the whole car. And then I was finally able to afford to get the exhaust put back on it after probably a month of driving it around super loud like that. And then right around 2013, 2014, I think, the transmission started grinding. It was just a little catch at first, going into second gear, but I took it in. They said $1,500 to fix it, or they say $1,500 or $1,000, somewhere around in there. But instead of fixing it, I used that money for my kids. I took them to Disneyland. Surprise. It was awesome. So I don't regret that. Sat for a couple more years, but I really didn't have a high priority on it because I had my 2010 Pathfinder, so it was fine for me and my kids going snowboarding and stuff. And then 2016, I decided I wanted to drive it again, so went and got the transmission rebuilt. Well, they didn't actually rebuild it. My brother-in-law worked for a transmission shop. When I took it in, the guy that took it out put all the broken pieces in it, and he had them in his bag, and he said, "What the hell were you doing? What happened?" I was all, well, at first it had a little catch put in the second gear, and then it stopped going into second gear, so I'd go from first to third, and then it wouldn't go into fourth gear, and then so I'd go from first to third to fifth, and then it stopped going into fifth gear, but fourth gear I could get around to where I needed to. I drove it probably like 6 months doing that, and then finally it was like it was trying to go into reverse and forward at the same time, and it just shredded everything inside there. And so they found a new T5 transmission, which is obsolete, and so for $1,200 got it rebuilt, or got a new one, I guess. They put a couple new parts in that one, and I had it for about 3 months, and I got hit by an oil field guy he hit me about 55, 60, but he had tried to slow down before that, so it's estimated he was doing about 90 before he hit me. But he hit me right in front of the front tire, ripped the front end off, and that was pretty devastating. Because this car, I lived in it for a year and a half after my divorce. So it was it's been very sentimental to me, you know. So when the tow truck driver showed up, my fender was smashed into the tire, which didn't pop, by the way. None of my glass broke or anything. It just ripped the front bumper off, smashed my fenders. He pulled the fender out of the tire, pulled it onto his truck, and he said, "Your frame is still straight." So I took it out to my mom's house and started cutting all the bad metal off of it. And I found a donor car. The guy said was an 82, and that if I took the whole car, he'd sell it to me for $400. Didn't have a title for it. I said, okay, whatever, I just want the front end anyway. So, went and got it. I didn't even open the doors, I just threw it on the trailer, brought it home, and out at my mom's house, when I was turning around in the corral, I got stuck, so I just unhooked the trailer and came back the next week because it was raining so much. So that next Saturday I came in. It had power windows, power locks, so it was a Berlinetta, and I started thinking, what if I put the power windows, power seat in my car, because mine is just a sport coupe, so I had the manual windows and everything. So I stripped every usable part out of it, took the seats, the carpet, which was My seats were pretty good because they've been redone by the previous owner, but comfort is king. So over the next 3 years, I rebuilt the front end, put in this Berlinetta dash because it's cool as shit. I mean, digital dash, I think if GM would have stuck with that, put it in the IROX, that'd have been way cool. But while I had the front end tore apart, the guy that I bought it from said his stoner son was trying to fix it up, and they had a brand new 305 and 700 R4 in there. So my ultimate plan was, when I wore out the V6 that I put in there in 2010, I would go with a V8. So I figured, what the hell? So I just unhooked. It wasn't even hooked up to a drive shaft or anything. So all I had to do was unhook the motor mounts and the cross member, and it was out. So shoved it in there. Finally got everything rebuilt. I would just go take something off of the donor car, put it on mine. Got the dash put in. I didn't know if anything worked because obviously nothing was hooked up. It didn't have a starter or anything. So I started slowly gathering the parts, starter, new plug wires, distributor, all that kind of stuff. And after I gathered up all the parts, I had to get a bracket set because I didn't have, going from a V6 to a V8, the brackets aren't the same. I needed headers. Couldn't figure out how to put the brackets on. I had no point of reference. And so I ended up, then I found out the motor was locked up. I didn't even try to turn it before that point. So I bought a brand new period correct 4-bolt main 350, and I didn't have a lot of time, so found a guy, and he said he could quoted me $1,400 to hook everything up, all that stuff. So I said, okay, cool. I figured 2 weeks would be plenty of time to get everything put in. You know, short block Chevy, not too bad to work on. Parts are cheap. He had my car for 18 weeks. He kept calling me saying he didn't know how to get the brackets on. And at that time, I was working a lot, and so I would try to send him pictures. I dropped off pictures of the brackets and how they go on, blah, blah, blah. He couldn't do it. Then he said I owed him like $3,000. And I said, but my car doesn't run. And he said, well, I had to do this. I've been putting a lot of work into it. So I ended up paying him like $1,100. Got my car back. Took it over to a different shop. I said, hey, can you guys get these brackets on? They said, yeah. About a week later, they called me, said my car was done. They said, hey, we put the headers on. We had to modify some parts because these brackets are made to work with the original headers, which I didn't have. So the headers I have on here, and the white pipe and everything, it's a bolt-on exhaust, which it's not bad. It doesn't sound as good as it could be, but the muffler place, the cheapest place I could find them to do from the headers back, was $1,000, and I did all this for about $550 myself. So it was just a bolt-on set that I got from Summit. Was it Summit? I think it was Summit. So now I have my car back, and I've had it back since about May of 2019. But since I live at work, I don't drive it all that much. Just when I go do odd jobs and stuff like that on the side. So it's working out pretty well. Now the Berlinetta has a pod radio, which I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. Doesn't work, or the cassette player doesn't work. The radio works. But I wanted the cassette player to work because I have. Don't want to park right there. I don't know if I do. Nah, maybe I will. Screw it. So I wanted to play my New Kids on the Block cassettes, because who doesn't love New Kids? And he said, "Oh yeah, no problem. Needs a new belt." Cool. Guy's been in business since 75. He said 3 weeks. Cool. 3 weeks comes. It's not ready. He's all, yeah. Takes a lot to take that apart. And he said the belt wasn't very good. It was too tight. So he's waiting on the correct one. That was back in May 2020. I took it in there. I just picked it up last Friday. It doesn't work. Let me get the light back on. Ooh. Come on. There we go. Has it all taken apart. So we had it from May, June, July, August, September, October, November, December, January. So about 9 months. Yeah, I was just being patient. I know it's an old piece of technology. And in that time, a guy on Craigslist was selling another 84 Berlinetta. So I snatched it up for $400. It's got this is the one out of there. Cassette player doesn't work, but I'll make a video on that. So I found some other companies that said they might be able to fix it, because it was only for 3 years they put this pod in here, which I think it's cool as shit. It swivels. But I bought a touchscreen display, and I'll make a video on that. But, third gen Camaros, super sweet. Got my son a 91. We painted it. It looks awesome. He did a pretty good job for his first time ever doing anything like that. And I'm very proud of him for putting in that work. And with the sanding, we didn't do any body work. We just didn't have time with the time we had. But it looks really cool. We're going to be doing some more stuff this summer. I bought an airbrush. Damn. Almost lost it there. Bought an airbrush so we could do all his trim and everything. We'll probably do some videos on that. But that is why I love third gen Camaros. I think they look cool. They're cheap to work on. They're fun to drive. And I got a lot of emotional investment in this car. But till next time, you know what it is. This video is brought to you by your mom. I love that.